So the other day was the Olympic opening ceremony, and a lot of people were talking about the rain. So it rained during the Olympic opening ceremony, but they had an orchestra outdoors. A lot of players in European orchestras will play antique instruments like old Italian, old French instruments, and I'm pretty sure that's the case with the Paris Orchestra. So that would be really scary to take those outdoors. Luckily, they were able to borrow some cheaper instruments to play in the outdoor gig. And if you take a careful look at the instruments at the opening ceremony, you'll see that they actually have this plasticky shine, which is always a big giveaway to cheap student instrument. So I believe they borrowed a bunch of cheap student instruments to perform on. But that kind of highlights a problem with the entertainment industry with string orchestras. You know, anytime there are gigs with string orchestras or strings or quartet or something like that, when they're outdoor gigs, you have to find a solution as a string player. If it's just a nice day, no big problem, shouldn't be too bad. But here in Australia, for example, most gigs are in the evening, and we usually have an enormous amount of dew settling in the evening, so there's a lot of humidity around that's sort of settling down, and that's not good for the instruments. And then if it actually rains, that's just horrendous. Like, that can destroy a violin, viola, cello, or double bass. Water and instruments just don't work together. Now, you know, brass players, no worries. You know, even woodwind probably could deal with it a little bit better than violins. But violins, you have all those glued parts. Their plates are very thin. They're like 2 to 3 millimeters thin. They absorb humidity that can make them warp and do all sorts of things. So it's a real problem. So it'd be great if concert organizers were actually aware of how fragile stringed instruments are. So what do you do? What do you do if you have an outdoor gig? What should you do? And here's my recommendations. I would do what the Paris Orchestra did and borrow a really cheap instrument. That's one option. Put some good strings on it and it'll sound a lot better. Something Ray Chen does, because his instrument, you know, he plays a Stradivarius violin.
I have here 1714 Stradivarius violin. It's called the Dolphin, and it's made in 1714.
As well as a modern instrument, personally. And both those instruments are quite valuable and could get damaged. So he plays an electric violin when it comes to outdoor gigs. But the problem, of course, with electric violins is they just don't sound the same. You can really hear it, like they often lack that kind of brilliance that the timbre brings into the tone. But, you know, it's one option of getting around it. The other one, like I said, is just get a really cheap instrument, you know, get like a VSO. But get a good bridge and good strings on there and you've got an opportunity for a fairly decent sound. You could also play one of those instruments with a pickup. Often outdoor gigs you really need pickups anyway, pickups or microphones. and that could be a really good option. You could go for something like the band pickup, which actually wraps around the instrument. To me, that actually has a very natural tone. I use it myself. It's pretty amazing. There are bridge pickups and all sorts of other pickups that you can go with. But the important thing here is keep your instrument out of the humidity. If you've got an outdoor gig, plan very carefully. If your instrument ever does get wet, what you do is you just wipe it dry as soon as you possibly can. It's always good to have a cloth with you, like maybe in your pocket, just in case something happens. But yeah, you just wipe your instrument dry, and if it ever gets caught in the rain, make sure you take it to your violin maker straight afterwards, just to make sure that everything's still fine. If you catch that kind of stuff early, you can prevent a lot of problems later. So also, if there are outdoor gigs, it's really good to get the organizers to make sure that there is a roof over the stage, or some kind of tent or enclosure over the stage. It'll protect you a little bit more. So anyway, if your instrument ever does get wet for any reason, make sure you wipe it down as quickly as you can. Grab anything you can, even a tissue will do. Like you could use a beautiful cleaning cloth, like my cleaning cloths. This one's been used quite a bit. Or you could, use a tissue, use paper towel, whatever. Just get the instrument dry. That's the most important thing. Some varnishes will actually react with water. Some balsam varnishes will actually discolor, like they'll go milky with water, and then they become very susceptible to actually wearing off. So just be really, really careful to keep your instrument dry. Try and avoid outdoor gigs with your good instrument. If you have an outdoor gig, make sure you check the weather beforehand, that there's absolutely no chance of rain. And if there is a chance of rain, get a cheap instrument, borrow a cheap instrument, get a VSO or something slightly better and play that. I know it's not going to sound as good, but you have to, you can't be expected to be playing your good instruments outdoors. That's just not very good for them. Anyway, hope that helps. That's my kind of insight into this whole thing. I hope that people who put on outdoor gigs, that they will provide a roof or a tent or something for the stage to protect when they're string players, to protect them. I mean, there's a lot of electronics on stage anyway, so they'd want to protect that as well. Look after your instrument and make sure you keep it clean and keep it dry. If you like this video, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, because that way you find out every time I post a new video. And keep making beautiful music. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.